Hey, it's Erin Lucero, and I wanted to give you an update on my native plant garden and just talk a little bit about installing a native plant garden, maintaining it, and some of the things that you might want to know about installing and maintaining and waiting and all that good stuff in case you're looking at installing one yourself. So first of all, I'll let you know that these photos are taken the end of June, beginning of July, and it has been in the mid 90s for I feel like the last week. It's that kind of time of year in Colorado, Front Range, when everything starts crisping up. The grass all starts going brown and everything is looking a little bit stressed. But I will be happy to report that the native plants that are in my native plant garden are doing great and thriving. And I guess this is just a great reminder to myself of why I wanted to put these in the first place. That when we have hot and summer weather, the plants do great, whereas the non-native plants that need more water, that need a little bit cooler weather, do not do great. And so I wanted to share just how those plants are looking. We have some really happy yarrow and milkweed and yuccas and siskiyou evening primrose and Cannon Creek buckwheat and wine cups all flowering. And one of the things that I really love about having these native plants, especially penstemons, there's just something about penstemons that bring the pollinators in, is I get to see so many kinds of bees. Bumblebees with little orange butts and these big black and yellow bumblebees. I see black bees, green bees, different kinds of honeybees, just so many more bees and butterflies than I ever saw before I put these plants in. And it's really fun to just sit out there and look at all of the different pollinators and to really understand that the reason that they're coming to my garden is because these flowers are what they know and they are attracted to the native flowers. And so this is just such a great reason to put in a native plant garden. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the things that I've learned about maintaining this garden. So this is the second year that I have had this garden in, and everything has grown so much. And so one of the things that I'm trying to dial in is what is the right amount of water. One of the challenges that I have in this garden is that we still have a little bit of grass and sod, and then we have the native plants. So how to figure out how much water does the grass need, which is a lot more than how much water the native plants need. And we haven't really honed in on the exact way to do our irrigation system. I think it was just cost and how we were going to try and figure that out. But I do think seeing how big and floppy some of my plants are, they actually could probably use a little less water, and there are some other plants that maybe do need a little bit more water. So this is just something that I think is about figuring it out. And one of the things that I really figured out is my poppy mallows or wine cups. If you take a look, I have done two pictures. One is my wine cups that are in the all sun portion of my yard, and you'll see they are barely alive. I mean, they're not dead, they're trying, but I think it's just too much stress for them to be in full sun all the time, even though when I bought them, they said full sun. Whereas the ones that I have planted that get lots of morning sun until about lunchtime, and then they get afternoon shade, they are doing great. And I will say that the ones that are doing great are not in great soil. This is actually kind of the worst soil that we have in our yard. And I think it has a lot more to do with the amount of sun and heat. And I will notice that in this area where we have a little bit of afternoon sun, the gazanias are doing well and the Canna Creek buckwheat is doing well. But the area that is full sun, none of those three plants survived. So this is just something, if you're laying out your own yard, you might want to take into some consideration. Another question that I've been getting a lot about from people as I've talked to them about planting a native plant garden is weeds. And so I just wanted to talk to weeds a little bit. Now, you'll probably hear from most people about native plants that you should not put landscape fabric or weed fabric down because these plants like to propagate through self-seeding. And so then you ask, well, what about all the weeds? And so I will talk about the weeds that I get to deal with this year, which is my second year in. So the biggest amount of weeds that I had last year were weeds that were coming up from the areas where I didn't have very healthy grass. And so I kind of had a weed bed. And when I removed my sod, those weeds were still there and they started poking up through the gravel. And I used what is called a garden hoe or a loop tool. It looks like this, and you just run it through the gravel. It goes down about 3 inches and it keeps getting at the kind of at the roots of the weeds. And you keep doing it every week and every week and every week. All last summer, I was just weeding and weeding. And those weeds, I don't know what they're called, but they're a lot less of them this year. And I think it's just been consistent, staying on top of it. I would say probably only about 25% of the amount of weeds of that kind that I had from last year. And so it does get better. And I'm hoping that as the plants continue to fill in and their root system gets bigger and stronger, those weeds continue to diminish. The other weed that is kind of the bane of my existence is bindweed. And I don't know that there is a great way to stay on top of this stuff because it grows like overnight. So if you just skip 1 week of weeding, you go out there. I did this today, and I was like appalled that the bindweed had wrapped itself all around my Rocky Mountain penstemons that had finished flowering. Now, it doesn't seem to be killing my plants. It just seems to tie them up. And so I'm trying to stay in front of it, but sometimes it just seems to overwhelm. And the tricky thing about the bindweed for some of my slow sprawling plants like the Canna Creek buckwheat or the wine cups is that the way it binds around, it's really hard to pull out. And I have to be really careful, especially around those the poppy mallows and wine cups. Like I can rip out the actual plant while I'm trying to rip out the bindweeds. So what I do sometimes is try and just get it at its root, and then hopefully it'll just kind of die on the stalk and at least not continue to grow. But yeah, the bindweed is a very invasive, very obnoxious weed that we just have to stay ahead of. And so are thistles. Thistles, I really had to hit hard this spring, but I have managed to get them under control. So that is my thoughts on weeding. But I just wanted to kind of reiterate on how planting a good variety of plants here or in your garden that have flowers blooming all season. So I had a lot of flowers that were going, some daisies that were going in the spring, the columbines, and then the Siskiyou evening primrose started to take off. Now I have the blanket flowers and the milkweed going. And then I have some that haven't flowered yet. The liatris has not flowered yet. And when it comes, it's really going to bring in a lot of bees. And then later on in the summer, the rabbit brush will start flowering. So it's really important to do some research or get some information on when your plants will flower so that you can have flowers all season long. So when the butterflies, the hummingbirds, and the bees find your garden, they will know that they have food, or that you know that they will have food throughout the whole season. And that's a really important thing. And also, especially in Colorado, if you can provide some sort of water for them, is so good. The bees need water. They like water in some kind of like gravel bed or a bird bath. They'll even sit at the edge to get the water. The birds need the water. Um, Everything needs water, and there's not a lot of it in the summer in Colorado. So those are just a few of my lessons learned, tips, and an update on my garden. If you have any questions or want to chat more, if you're thinking of putting in your own garden, I invite you to send me a note, to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and I really hope that this is helpful. Thanks so much. Have a great day.